high in the desolate, wind-swept peaks of the Indian Himalayas. Nestled at an altitude of over 16,500 feet, lies a small, glacial lake. For most of the year, it is a frozen, unremarkable feature in a landscape of giants. But as the summer sun works its fleeting magic, melting the ice along its shallow edges, a chilling secret is revealed. This is Roopkund Lake, but it is better known by a more sinister name, Skeleton Lake. Scattered in and around its icy waters are the skeletal remains of more than 500 human beings. For decades, the story seemed straightforward, if tragic. A single catastrophic event, a devastating avalanche, or a sudden, brutal blizzard, had claimed the lives of an entire group of travelers, their bodies entombed in ice for centuries. It was a haunting local mystery, a ghost story whispered on the mountain winds. But that simple explanation, the one that offered a semblance of order to the chaos, was about to be shattered. Modern science, in the form of DNA analysis, would uncover a truth far more complex and infinitely more terrifying. The bones did not tell the story of one disaster. They told the story of many. These people, entombed together in this remote mountain grave, had died 1,000 years apart. The journey to Roopkund is an arduous one, a multi-day trek through treacherous terrain that tests the limits of human endurance. It is not a place one stumbles upon by accident. Yet, when the ice recedes, the evidence of its grim past becomes starkly visible. Skulls, femurs, and ribs lie strewn across the rocky shoreline, some still bearing fragments of preserved flesh and hair, perfectly frozen by the frigid, high-altitude air. The sheer number of remains is staggering, a macabre jumble of humanity resting in a place that seems utterly devoid of life. Initial investigations in the mid-20th century attempted to date the remains and piece together a single narrative. The prevailing theory was that a large group of pilgrims, perhaps accompanied by local porters, were caught in a sudden, violent storm around the 9th century. This explanation held for over 60 years, a single, horrifying snapshot in time that, while gruesome, made a certain kind of sense. It was a story of misfortune, a testament to the unforgiving power of the Himalayas. But nagging questions remained, whispers of inconsistencies that refused to be silenced. In 2019, a comprehensive genetic study was conducted on the remains, and the results sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The analysis of 38 skeletons revealed not one, but 3 genetically distinct groups of people, their deaths separated by an immense gulf of time. The first and largest group, dating to around 800 AD, were, as long suspected, of South Asian ancestry. Their genetic profile was consistent with that of modern populations in India, lending credence to the theory that they were pilgrims or locals traveling through the high mountain passes. But they were not alone. A second, startlingly different group was identified. Their DNA traced back not to the Indian subcontinent, but to the Eastern Mediterranean, specifically to the area of modern-day Greece and Crete. These individuals had died at the same time as the South Asian group, around the 9th century. What were people of European descent doing in this impossibly remote corner of the Himalayas, so far from the sea, with no historical record to explain their presence? They had no obvious reason to be there, no known trade route to follow, no documented expedition to their name. They were ghosts in the historical record, their journey and their purpose a complete and utter enigma. The revelations did not end there. The DNA testing uncovered a third group, a single individual whose genetic lineage traced back to Southeast Asia. But the most shocking discovery was the date of their death. This person had not died in the 9th century event. They had died much, much later, sometime around the 18th century. This completely dismantled the single catastrophe theory. Skeleton Lake was not the site of one tragedy, but a recurring one. For at least 1,000 years, this one specific, isolated location had served as a final resting place for people from vastly different parts of the world. It was a place that seemed to draw travelers to their doom over and over again. The lake's grim reputation was not born from a single event, but from a long, horrifying history of death. The question was no longer simply what killed these people, but what brought them all here, across continents and across centuries, to die in the exact same spot. The mystery of Skeleton Lake had deepened from a historical puzzle into something far more unsettling. As scientists examined the bones more closely, a peculiar pattern of injury emerged. Many of the skulls, regardless of which group they belonged to, bore similar, unhealed fractures. Short, deep cracks on the top of the cranium, suggesting that the victims were struck by something hard and round, falling directly from above. The injuries were not consistent with a landslide or avalanche, which would cause a variety of crushing injuries all over the body. They were also not the result of combat, as the wounds were localized to the head and shoulders, with no defensive injuries on the arms. This led to a terrifying but compelling theory: a hailstorm, not an ordinary hailstorm, but a freakish, cataclysmic event, with hailstones the size of cricket balls, hard as iron, raining down from the sky with lethal force. In the open, exposed terrain of the high Himalayas, with no shelter to be found, such a storm would have been a death sentence. This scientific theory finds a chilling echo in local folklore. An ancient folk song tells the story of a procession journeying to a nearby shrine dedicated to the mountain goddess, Nanda Devi. The king, in his arrogance, brought dancing girls and other luxuries, defiling the sacred mountain sanctuary. Enraged, the goddess exacted a terrible revenge. She rained down death upon the party, sending iron balls from the sky to punish their transgression. The legend and the evidence seem to align in a hauntingly perfect way. A catastrophic hailstorm could indeed explain the identical injuries and the sudden death of a large group of people caught in the open, but it could not explain everything. A hailstorm, no matter how severe, is a random act of nature. It doesn't explain why a group of Greeks would be trekking through the Himalayas in the 9th century. It doesn't explain why a person from Southeast Asia would die in the same location 900 years later. And most unnervingly, it doesn't explain why this specific tiny lake in a vast mountain range seems to be a magnet for death. Is it cursed? Is there some unknown environmental or geological factor that makes this spot uniquely dangerous? The hailstorm theory answers the how, but it leaves the why hanging in the thin mountain air. As a question too large and too frightening to comprehend, the pieces of the puzzle lie scattered on the stony shore, refusing to form a coherent picture. We are left with a series of stark, irreconcilable facts. 500 bodies, 3 distinct genetic groups from 3 different continents. Their deaths separated by 1,000 years. All found in and around one small, frozen lake at 16,500 feet in one of the most remote places on Earth. The pilgrimage theory for the South Asians makes sense. But the presence of the Greeks is a historical anomaly. The recurring nature of the deaths transforms a tragic accident into a sinister pattern. The hailstorm provides a cause of death, but not a motive for the journey. Every answer only begets more questions, each one deeper and more disturbing than the last. The science has given us data, but it has not given us a story that makes sense. Roopkund Lake remains a place of profound and chilling mystery. The bones are a silent testament to a story we may never fully understand. They speak of incredible journeys and terrifying ends. They connect ancient pilgrims, enigmatic Mediterranean travelers, and a lone visitor from Southeast Asia in a shared, inexplicable fate. The lake guards its secrets well, locked in the ice and the silence of the high Himalayas. It is a stark reminder that even in our modern age of scientific certainty, there are places on this earth that defy explanation. Places where the veil between the known and the unknown is terrifyingly thin. It is a graveyard in the clouds, a puzzle of bone and ice that continues to haunt the imagination. Leaving us with one final, unsettling thought. Skeleton Lake is not finished.